Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Looks Like We Made It. I'm Issy Howell and I'm joined by my dad Chris to talk all things video marketing. We are the father and daughter who run the video production company Howell Film, and each week we will be discussing all sorts like what happens behind the scenes on our projects, getting results from your video content, how to start using video in your business, and plenty more to come. We're always up for candidly conversing about creativity. On this episode, we are answering the question, how can I make my video content look more professional? So without further ado, let's get started, and of course, never miss an episode every Tuesday by giving us a follow or subscribe, as well as finding Howell Film on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. Let's go.
So I'm going to start this answer like I do every week, which is you should make your video content look more professional by hiring a professional. At the end, no, not.
I'm more used to plugging this.
No, this is not a plug. No, okay. For starters, I would say that there's two ways of making your video content look more professional. The first way is do more of it. Get to know what you're doing, learn about it, enjoy it, get stuck in, try things. Yeah. Get some 9-year-old in Delaware to teach you how to do it on YouTube, all that kind of stuff. And the second thing would be have a look at some of the amazing, which we'll come on to in a minute, but have a look at some of the amazing tools that are out there to assist you in your quest for professional looking video content.
Absolutely, and because now that we're in a world where social media, you can create content in social media, there's video editing in Instagram and all sorts in there now. You do see people who feel like they need to be making this content and they need to be making it quickly, but also not understanding those small sort of tips and tricks to give it that edge. So there's a risk there that you might be putting stuff out there that might not be, up to a very good standard, which, we want everyone to have the best standard they can. So in terms of, I know that we could go very technical in terms of like framing and all this sort of stuff, but what would be your number one thing for someone to have a go at when they're making their video content?
My number one thing for someone to have a go at while they're making video content is to learn how to be brutal with their editing.
I'm glad you said that.
is to basically, you can always tell when someone who isn't a creative professional or a film professional or whatever is putting video content out there because it's always too long, too waffly, by definition, a bit boring. There's a lot of erming and ahhing and head scratching and stuff that's in the video. There you go, perfect. It doesn't count on podcast. So the art of editing that's a skill to develop and really understand where when you've shown it, when you've said it, that's it. You don't need to, you don't need to be getting any more eggs into that pudding.
You've teed me up very nicely.
Oh, okay,
here.
All right. Well, I'll bat it over to you then. There's number one. I've got loads more.
It's all I've got. Editing's all I've got. It's the thing that whenever I see people having a go at their own video content, and when I'm looking at the editing, obviously, when people are just sort of having a go and starting out, it's always like the cuts are a bit longer than they should be and stuff like that. But my number one rule, which I've mentioned in a previous episode, is focus on the action and not the movement. That is the key to a tight edit. So, if you're filming yourself walking into an event and you get yourself sort of walking all the way up to the door, opening the door and coming out the other side, we don't need to see that. Just think about maybe showing people that you're opening the door, and that's it. And having to have a very pacey edit is to be very, very brutal with the beginning and the end of each clip. Keep trimming that down and down and down and down until you get to just the pure action that people are interested in seeing that adds to the story. The walking, the sort of build up to stuff is unnecessary unless it adds something to your story.
So unless you're creating a sort of a Hollywood-style, suspense-driven piece of
I think
mastery,
the
key is to chop it like mad. And
the more, I hate to say it like this, the more homemade content is, the quicker those cuts should be, because you want people to be swept into the action that's happening on the screen. You know, we have the luxury of, when we've got sort of cinema cameras and 6K and all these cool stuff, is that those cameras can really do the job to get whatever it is we want. But when you're working on technology that might not be as whiz-bang high-tech, you want the number one takeaway for your audience to be the story that you're telling. So that should be the priority.
100%. And don't forget, you can still make a bad film on a 12K, 6K, 8K.
Not that we have.
Never. You can make a brilliant film on the phone in your pocket. So let's not lose sight of that. My other, that sounded a bit forceful, didn't it?
No, I was going to say.
Don't lose sight of that.
I know. I was put in my place.
Yeah. But the other thing as well is, it's not only about the imagery that you're filming there, and then there's lots of other things to consider. Audio is one. Another top tip: don't use copyrighted content.
Oh, please don't.
Don't decide that, hey, I want to play, my favorite track alongside my bit of content, because in reality it'll get flagged anywhere you put it. Mm-hmm. You'll get a bad reputation. You'll get black marks against you. It'll just be a bad thing to do. But there's loads and loads of really cool free or virtually free audio out there, or make your own. Get your little Bon Tempi out and
Foley's essential.
And away you go. There's loads of little things out there. There's loads of people making little templates, little backgrounds, all sorts of things, just to give your video a bit of extra spice, a bit of extra interest. And before you jump in, I can see you're about to jump in. Don't forget that. And my other is just think about lighting. Think about we see so many people who don't even follow the very basics of lighting. And again, this is you don't want to be in silhouette like you're some kind of...
Don't stand in front of a window.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. So just setting the scene a little bit, think about the lighting, think about background noise, background imagery that's going to be distracting for the viewer. Mm-hmm. But it, oddly, just by taking some quite simple steps, you can really move from being someone with a shaky phone. Get yourself a tripod, he says. Someone with a shaky handheld phone image that's too long, too messy, too noisy. Follow a few rules, and before you know it, you're into something that can look really quite nice quite quickly.
Absolutely, and I'm going to throw it all the way back to editing as well, because within that, what's the word? I've forgotten what I'm saying. Hang on.
Stick with us, folks.
Give me a second. No, that's it. I've got it. So with editing, don't go straight to the deep end when you're making video content, because I think with the emergence of things like Instagram Reels, where you can scroll through them for hours and hours and hours, and you're exposed to so many different types of content creation, as well as different skill levels. You get some people who, it's obviously the first time they've made a reel, and also people who are professional filmmakers, animators and stuff, all on the same platform. And that can make you, if you're just starting out and stuff, you can feel a little bit of pressure to think, wow, I need to be looking like them, or they look really good, I want to try that myself. But often these kind of reel-based things or YouTube stuff, they're meant to look simple and off the cuff, but actually these people might have years of filmmaking experience to make it look as smooth and streamlined, as simple as that. So don't try and do a million wacky transitions and animations and all this sort of whiz-bang stuff with loads of cuts, loads of angles, loads of lights, unless you have a professional to do it for you, until you've had some practice. I think keeping it as simple and pared back as you can at the start means that it looks already more professional.
Less is more.
Less is more, because you could throw a million different effects on it and stuff, but there's no point doing it just for the sake of it and just to show that you can do it.
And in design, you really you should. Well, the essence of good design is when everything that's not essential when is removed, and what you're left with is that essential part. When all superfluous flim-flam gets chopped away, what you're left with is the actual essence of good design.
Absolutely.
That's just a personal opinion.
Well,
as you know,
it's a good opinion to
I'm
have.
not shy with those opinions. But the other thing as well is with the making your work look more professional is consider introducing a second image source. So if you've got your phone trained on you, if you're presenting something to a piece to camera, having another phone or little pocket camera or whatever you've got as a second camera, when you are editing, you can chop between them, and again, that gives it a professional feel, gives it a professional look, and it gives you more scope to add a bit more depth to what you're trying to achieve.
No, absolutely. And I think with any kind of video content and any sort of technology relating to film, as we know, you can end up in a black hole. There's a rabbit hole that you can go down.
Oh, there's a rabbit hole.
There's
technology. Always a rabbit hole.
You can start off with using your mobile phone, or you can go all the way up to ridiculous amounts of stuff. It's unbelievable the stuff you can buy to make, making video content a lot easier. But you do that through discovery, though. You essentially, I know you got your hand up to us to make your point, but I'm going to hold on to my point. It's that you should use video production technology to act as a solution to a problem. So if you start making content and something doesn't sound right or something doesn't look right, and there's the opportunity to maybe invest in a little ring light or something for your smartphone, or a little microphone or whatever it may be, that can be cost effective and just brings it up a little bit. Like, don't go buying, massive production amounts of technology, but just go for the little things that provide a solution. Go.
Yes, my point I was going to make is more about editing and effects and the like, but also it does apply to hardware as well. My point is, you shouldn't use it if you don't know what it's going to do. If you can't predict the results, you shouldn't use it, and that applies across the board in graphic design. It applies in loads of things in the creative industry. That just because you can doesn't necessarily mean you should. The old cliche. But also, when it comes to an effect, you should have an understanding of what it is you're trying to achieve. You shouldn't just fire stuff out there and hope something sticks and may or may not look good. And again, a bit like what you were saying about stripping back all the fancy stuff. If you're working with text or you're working with sound, you don't need to put shadows on everything. You don't need to put glows on everything. You don't need to put echoes and
even
delay.
Though it's tempting,
and all. It's tempting. It's good fun. You go, oh, that's clever. But actually, ultimately, it can all look a bit mad, and it can all look a bit, whoa, what's this person's gone crazy in the sweet shop. When the actual idea you have at the beginning is to deliver a message, whatever that message is, if it's just even a bit of fun. But still, being that kind of, wow, I've lobbed everything at it and the kitchen sink, actually detracts from the core message you're trying to get across.
Yeah, because you look at YouTubers and stuff. I mean, the YouTuber generation really began about 10 years ago, maybe a bit earlier than that, where it would essentially be young people with a handy cam in their living room or something, and they'd just start talking at the camera, and then more and more people would be taken in by watching what they had to say. And it's only now do you see them as millionaires with like cinema technology and all this sort of stuff, but they all started somewhere, and they started with just wanting to talk and have a message. But
it's hard graft, though. Don't lose sight of the fact that a lot of the YouTube people, particularly, they do put in the hard yards, and they do.
Absolutely.
It does take graft to keep doing the films, to keep having the content, to gain and maintain the audience as well. It does take a real
Well, I think
an effort on their part.
As well, though, that in terms of making your content look more professional is, I'm not plugging us at all, but using professionals in capacities that you never really thought. So, I mean, when you're making your own content, you're almost taking on the role of a filmmaker, a pre-production specialist, an editor, a sort of someone who like delivers the content and stuff, and you've got maybe even a social media manager role on top of that. Like when you're making your own stuff, you have to take on all of those roles that people train for individually. Like you don't want to sometimes be a whole one-man band, because you only end up with a little bit of experience or a little bit of a lower skill level in each one. So, I mean, we have filmmakers who are specifically there just to shoot the content. We have editors like me who are literally just there to take that content and cut it all together. We have people who do logistics and organising and stuff. And sometimes just by approaching someone where it is their specialism, you can get so much more out of that content. Like we've had clients give us mobile phone footage, give us stuff that they've shot, like a video diary and stuff that they've made over a weekend or over a day. And just by giving it to someone who's got that editing experience or who's got sort of those elevated skill levels, brings that content up so much more. So you can often editors and stuff are trained to see the jewels and the nuggets in the things
tucked away.
Yeah, that other people
the diamond in the rough.
Yeah, a normal person who isn't an editor, I say normal because, you know...
Are you saying editors aren't normal?
Oh, well, you know me. I'm dressed like SpongeBob as we speak. Is that, yeah, just by giving it to someone to have a different look at, and that even doesn't have to be an editor. It could just be someone who has got a pair of fresh eyes on your work just to see what they like the most. Don't take a bunch of footage and start editing it together without just sort of running it by people, getting people's opinions, preferably an editor. I keep going back to that.
I need to go back to Issy is in fact wearing a sweatshirt with a SpongeBob picture on it,
Don't forget Patrick.
She's not actually wearing a 4-foot square yellow piece of sponge.
Well, you know, not today.
That'd be great.
Not
I think
today.
we should. Let's do fancy dress podcasts. They never know. Oh no! Right, this is serious.
So today I'm dressed as Superman.
Yes.
Oh God, that's an image I got.
So I like all these things. The key for making your video content more professional is to do more of it, do it more often, enjoy it, and also look at what other people are doing and think, and actually sort of try and reverse engineer. So you might see something that someone on YouTube or something on Facebook or whatever has done, and you go, God, that's clever. I wonder how they've done that, or I like their delivery, and have a go. Just have a go at it yourself.
Have a play. Even me working in the film industry, Instagram Reels, and I keep going back to that because that's now like the core of sort of at-home content creation, is that only really came out just over a year ago from when this podcast was released. And that I had to sit and I had to just have a go and see what things did, because even then it's not what I normally use.
Well, interestingly, that's also technology and a platform that isn't designed for the professional tools that we use day in, day out.
Absolutely not.
It's all designed to work on your phone, isn't it?
Yeah, I was right back at the beginning, like everybody else, with things like Instagram Reels, but then it's through just pressing buttons and having a go and seeing what things do that even when I was starting off making Instagram Reels, I didn't know there was a button on the side that you pressed and it would create a silhouette of your last shot, so you could align yourself with your last shot. So if you wanted to do a wacky, look, my clothes have changed type thing, you could be in the exact same position. And it's stuff like that they've developed to make content creation a lot easier. That, like I said, even I didn't know that until I actually had a go at it. But it's not being afraid to just give it a try. And as I've said before,
No, I'm agreeing. Right. I'm waving my hands around in agreement.
It's like you're doing the Macarena next to me. No, as I said before, if you don't like it yourself, you don't have to share it. Bloopers reels are there for a reason. Yeah. People, even the biggest actors, make mistakes. You can have a go at it as many times as you want, practice it as many times as you want, delete it as many times as you want. But just practice, and you only have to show your best side.
Agreed, 100%. My final tip.
Okay.
Buy a tripod.
Yeah, or a tripod with a ring light.
Or a tripod with a ring. Just buy something to stop your device jiggling about, because that in itself does great things for you. And obviously, we haven't even touched on, the new GoPro Hero 10 has just been launched. We haven't got one yet, but we've got a lesser 9. But what I'm saying is, like that action stuff. So again, get out there, film some action things, have a go. But a lot of these cool new sort of action cams have got built-in image stabilization, which is great. Which is hard to say with these particular teeth in. But
again, you haven't got giant joke teeth in either.
No. So yeah, ultimately, stick at it, keep at it, have some fun with it, and when it gets serious, or you're out your depth, or there's a commercial element to it, or a high order image element to it, you should really be talking to a professional at that point.
Absolutely, just ask the question, and just see or look on YouTube and see what other people have said and their experiences, because 100%. It's also the things that you think look difficult or actually can also be quite simple, and you have a go and you go, oh, okay, I'll do that again, and it's about just building your experience, and that comes alongside your skill level. But any final thoughts to add on said question?
I don't think so. I think we've covered it. I mean, we'd love to hear if people have got opinions. We're always this is a two-way traffic, two-way street we've got going on here, and
Absolutely.
we do hear from people who've got ideas and opinions and like to correct us from time to time. Just
Andy, if you're listening.
If you just get stuck in and enjoy it.
Yeah, okay. I 100% agree.
Is there a final question at the end of this?
There is, and I've been thinking about what to ask you the entire time, so I've been somewhat distracted. My question is, and it's not a silly one, so you don't have to look at me so uncomfortably.
Okay.
What's your favourite piece of technology that you use in your day-to-day?
Well, I could just say something as grand as my Mac. That's just because I quite like my Macs because I've got more than one.
Oh, I see.
Ooh, I see.
Plural.
Favourite bit of technology? Probably the newest thing we've invested in.
Which is?
We're just testing out one of the new Blackmagic studio cameras, 4K plus.
It is very cool.
All the bells and whistles.
What's your most exciting part of that entire camera that you were really, really taken by?
What, the flip open viewfinder or the which bit? There's lots of bits about it that oh gosh, yes, the very bright the very bright tally light on the top of it.
Yeah,
I like that.
It didn't cross your mind just to put a light on other cameras.
I've got these dimmed old man's eyes. So anything now that is bright, I can make out.
No, you just get them out of a jar and stick them in your eyes.
Yes,
well, mine would have to be the DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor. If I'm being
that's a
very
cool bit
technical.
Of kit. That is a bit of kit.
And for the listeners at home, that is essentially for DaVinci Resolve, which is the piece of editing software. The Speed Editor is basically a series of buttons that I have on it looks very old-fashioned, but it's very cool, where I press those buttons and things just happen that help me edit. But on the Speed Editor, there is a wheel, and it's called a cutting wheel, which is designed to be like cutting and an old-timey film editing from when people used actual physical film.
It's not that old-timey.
Well, it's ancient film technology. But the cutting wheel essentially is just a spinny wheel, and you spin it and it moves you around and you can cut with it.
So the playhead moves and it all does its thing.
But it's the most satisfying piece of technology ever. But cool.
That makes us officially boring and techie.
It wasn't just that did it.
Excellent.
Okay, cool. Well, that's it for today. Please give us a listen and a rate and a subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or you can listen to us on www.howellfilm.co.uk. We release an episode every Tuesday, and if you've got a question for us to answer, then please let us know, or if you'd like to be on the show as well, please let us know. And you can find Howell Film on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn at Howell Film.
Brilliant.
And particularly to our Australian listeners.
I feel like we're big in Australia, which is fantastic.
We received note that we are on the charts in Australia, so that's very exciting. We yet to bring out the kangaroos and the boomerangs.
You can't say that. Wrap it up.
Okay, right.
Thank you. Bye.